So today we're going to talk about a complex action that is within this property management tool. I'm going to walk you through what the property management tool, what the scenario is, and then we're going to dive into how to set it up. So these are property IDs, for example, and you can see looking at the list, you can see these ID numbers right here, 59612. And you can see that these are different questions within that property. There's a total of 91 questions so far that relate to the property itself. So if we go into here and we look at, for example, there's number 1. If we look for 59612 question number 1, there it is right there, and we provided some information right there. But let's say that we want to edit that information. Well, we can edit this right here. We can just say edit, and we can save that information, and we want it to save, of course, back to that record. So when we go back in here and we refresh this table, we can look in here and we can see the number 1 data right there. Do you see the word edit? That means that we successfully did that. Now, let's say that we go into 59612 and we go back into there, and now you can see the word there. But let's say we're going to change this to curb appeal, and then we're going to say here is the building whatever, and that number is 88. So now we have an 88. Now, I have a little bug here. I'll have to get rid of this text automatically, but for what we're doing here, we'll be good to go. So here we have 88. So I'm just going to write in here curb, and then I'm going to write the first few words so we can re-find it again. And then I'm going to say number 88. This is the question ID for 88. And then we're going to just hit, remember 59612, we're going to hit save. We're going to go home, and we're going to check to see if that got rid there. So here, sure enough, 59612, 88, and we did write that information right there. So the key to note here is that each one of these questions can have up to 90, each one of these properties can have 91 questions. What we don't want to see are duplicate property IDs with duplicate question IDs. So we don't want two 59612 property IDs with two number 1s. Now, having put that all in your brain, let's go ahead and talk through what this solution actually looks like and how we kind of pass that information. So let's start here with the first screen where we have the variable right here. And so we have this variable that we're calling and we're creating, and we're just saying this item, meaning that when we click on this item is this number, and it's putting that into a variable called var edit task 3. Okay, so var edit task 3 is going to show up on some of the screens, but it's going to give us the ability to know what the property ID is. It's an active property ID. So let's go ahead and go back in there, and if we were to look and see what var edit is, var edit, if you look at var edit task 3, you can see that, you can just see a little bit of it there. We can view the record, but the record right here is 59, there it is, 59612. So you can see that information is the information that we want to have. So now we know that when we go into this, edit where we have all these fields, we know that we're on the right record, which happens to be 59612. So when we come into this record, we're going to go ahead and edit this. You notice here, as soon as it comes visible, we're going to do a couple things. One is that we're going to create another collection here called collection ID. We're going to look up what the question ID is in the PM question list, which is here. We'll open that up. PM question ID, you can see that right there, question ID. All right, we're going to look that up and we're going to balance it against this field right here called question ID.text, which is this field over here, right here. That's that field. And we got to open that back up again. Well, you can see it over here too, right here, question ID. So that's the name of that field, all right? And it's a text field. So what we're doing is saying, hey, look, let's balance this out and put that in there. We're basically saying, whatever this question becomes, I want you to pull the question ID off of that question. So when we look at PM question, we're going to pull this question ID right off, and we're going to put it right in here. Now, why are we doing that? We're doing that primarily because we need to be able to use this as a reference point to make sure that everything else loads properly within this form. So, how do we do that? So the first thing we do is we take and create a variable. And here I'm going to show you these notes so we can kind of follow along together, because this gets kind of complex kind of fast. So here we talked about this question ID right here, and you can see it comes up in that box. And we're doing this comparison, as you can see. I hate that that happens like that. But here you can see at the top of the screen here where we're doing that. We just talked about that. We also talked about this right here. Notice here that you have the question ID over here, right? Again, we're on this on visible, right? And then we're creating this variable here, and then we're looking up the PM question there and doing a comparison. Then we take the on visible property for the actual container here called Con Manager, and we're going to set a variable. So the first thing we did here was we just did the clear collection on this. We're still editing the same file, right? The on visible. But here in this one, we're going to actually set a variable. And so we're going to set another variable here so that we can make a decision with this variable information. We're going to look up this list, and we're going to look at the property ID. Remember the var edit task 3 that we already captured, and we're going to balance that against the question ID.text that we pulled in this step right here. Question ID text. We're going to pull that information right there. Now, I don't have to have that on my screen, by the way. I'm keeping it on the screen, but we could hide it and we'd get the same function. So here we're just doing the comparison, and what we're doing here is we're saying, give us that comparison and put the results inside of this variable. Okay? So once we get through that, now we're saying we're going to pull this variable right here at the top, okay? And we're going to say, look, if it's there, we want you to make it blank. That's the two quote marks right there, okay? And then if not, we want you to pull the information for answer from this site journal. Remember that we've pulled all the information here with PM Site Journal Record. That's what we're doing there, PM Site Journal Record. We're pulling all the information from the site journal list. So when you look at the site journal list, which is here, we have all of these fields inside of the site journal list. And we can pull any of that information because where'd my example go? In here, we're looking up and we're pulling all the data. So here, as we address it answer, right? You see that answer right there? As we address it as answer, when we get over to other fields in here that we want to collect, we'll just use whatever that field name is. This one happens to be answer, but we may put, you can look at them right here, right? So, whoops, wrong one. So you can see question, answer, assigned, correction, all of these other things we can go ahead and add as well as fields, and they're going to behave the exact same way, which brings us kind of to this field discussion. So let's bring this back over here so we don't get too far ahead. So here we're doing this, but notice here if is blank. So basically what we're saying is if it's blank, go ahead and make it blank. We're going to edit it new, and we're going to pull that data down. And we're going to do this same context right here. We're going to do the same context here for all of the fields. Okay? So So that's how that works. And then let's go ahead and finish this up real quick. So then the magic just comes in the save action itself. So we need to make sure that we save properly based on what data exists within the site journal, whether it's an existing data or whether it's a new data. So here we're just saying, hey, look this up based on the property ID and the question ID that we already know about. And if it's there, we're going to update the fields. If it's not, then we're going to go ahead and create new fields. And we're making this evaluation up here as well. So that's kind of in a nutshell. I know that, and then here's the code for that as well. So I know that's a lot to take in, and I went through it really fast, so I apologize. But let me go ahead and just pause real quick for a second. You can do a screenshot of this. You can do a screenshot here. Hopefully these screenshots will help. Screenshot here. Do one here. And then the last screenshot, which I can't get the whole thing, so I'm going to give you the other stuff because this just tells you what we're doing. But right there, do a screenshot there. Now, at least you can go back and reconstruct what we've done. Now, the result is pretty cool. The result is when we add new stuff, as we showed at the beginning of the video, the information adds new questions. If we're editing the information, then we can just simply edit the information. Good luck.